Sir Bob Geldof, thank you very much for joining us on Emirates News.
Thanks.
Now, to start with, you're known for a lot of different things. You're known for music, your humanitarian work, even movies. How do you describe yourself? Who is Bob Geldof?
Well, I'm a musician because all the stuff you've talked about comes from that. I view the world embarrassingly through the prism of rock and roll, and I've thought like that since the age of 11 when it sort of smacked me in the face. I came of age in the sort of cusp year of 1963 when these young boys and girls were talking about different worlds and other possibilities, and I still believe in other possibilities and different worlds.
Now, you've always actively used your fame to call attention to, and even more importantly, help find solutions to some of the world's biggest problems. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges in the world right now?
There's climate change, and we can argue about why it's happening. It's not worth arguing about. It is happening. And that one of the massive effects is what we're here to talk about today in Abu Dhabi, which is food security. So when people talk about sustainable development, that's an oxymoron. The world is finite. And so overpopulation and food security is a critical issue for our species.
So what is the solution?
Well, you've got to limit population growth. The main factor in this is the education of women. It's clear that when women are educated, then they choose to have less children. And then you've got to have newer ways of doing agriculture. But the next 25 years will be completely critical. I would imagine that there will be massive wars breaking out over water. Agriculture uses 70% of the world's water.
Now, 6 years ago, the G8 adopted a relief and aid package for Africa, largely due to your own work as part of the Commission for Africa and organizing the Live Aid concerts. Do you think much has changed in Africa since?
The G8 had until 2010 to meet their commitment. They've done about 60% of what they promised. But the L'Aquila G8 initially promised 22 billion for food security, and they've only delivered 6 billion, so that's a grotesque failure.
Now, you've recently become a counselor for One Young World, which is an organization that brings together the future of global leaders. How much voice do young people really have, and how important is it for it to be heard?
Well, the problem is they don't have much of a voice at all, which is why you see social revolutions happening almost everywhere, most recently in North Africa. They're denied a future. And in the West, in the part of the world I live in, I'm part of the baby boom problem. I mean, we grow increasingly old with a smaller young population, and therefore all the politics are geared towards my generation. So there's increased health spending as we get older. We can't afford that, and so we literally take away the future of these young people. The upside of that is you're going to get great music, you're going to get great rock and roll again, because it is the music of frustration and venting.